Hi everyone, I'm Michelle Delacour.
And I'm Mark Fancett, and we're part of Peninsula Preservation Group.
Here's a little bit of an introduction for you. Roy Everard Ross bought a quarry at Dramana and named it Hillview Quarries. 2 years later, in 1970, he died, and in his will he set up the Ross Trust charity. All profits from Hillview Quarries goes to the Ross Trust. The 5 trustees on the Ross Trust are the same board members of Hillview Quarries. The Ross Trust, through their grant system, donates money to many worthy causes. Mostly they donate to education and to the environment. In recent years, they've upped their donations to the environment tenfold. On their website, one of their mission statements says, "Enhancing biodiversity for the sustainability of Victoria's native flora, fauna, and ecosystems." The Ross Trust and Hillview Quarries have applied to the State Planning Minister for a new quarry on Arthur Seat.
It's now been 3 years since Hillview put in their application to quarry this land. And in all that time, they've never included a single photograph of what this site looks like on the ground in all of their media publications, in all of their community consultation. They've never shown anyone what it looks like on the ground. So for that reason today, we wanted to do this presentation actually on the ground and show you all what's going to be missing if this quarry goes ahead. Some of these trees are incredibly old. This one here may be as old as 300 or 400 years old, obviously pre-European settlement. And certainly the Ross Trust and Hillview Quarries have tried to downplay the value of this land. And even early on, they used to call this land degraded industrial land.
This is where our land care group have worked for the last few years to clear pittosporum and pines. You can see how stunning it is now. On the Ross Trust land there are a lot of weeds, and they have said it's a degraded area because of those weeds. It's taken us a very short amount of time to make this area stunning.
I'm standing here on the boundary between the Arthur Seat State Park on my right hand side and the Ross Trust land on my left hand side. It's this land on the left here that the Ross Trust wanted to quarry right up to this boundary here. In the last couple of weeks they've announced they're going to put a buffer zone further back, but our concern is that even if they get approved for that 62-acre pit they've now asked for, that it's going to be very easy to get an extension. We only have to look at the current quarry and how easy it was for them to obtain an extension in 2006 to see what could happen here. Potentially they could then mine all the way to the crest of the other hill and all the way to the crest here.
I'm currently being attacked by leeches in this beautiful fern gully, surrounded by scented paper barks, along a creek line that heads down to Sheepwash Creek. This will be lost if the quarry proposal goes ahead.
We've now moved down deeper into the valley of Sheepwash Creek, and you can see the change in vegetation. This site, although it's only 69 hectares in size, it's one of the most diverse on the peninsula. There are only 2 outcrops of granite on the peninsula. One is the Arthur Seat Escarpment and the other is Mount Martha. Most of the vegetation's been cleared off Mount Martha, so that means that the vegetation here is so important that we save it. In this valley too, we see a lot of the large trees that have survived the logging of the late 1800s and early 1900s and survived the bushfires because of the fact that Sheepwash Creek is here. There's also some of the large trees provide nesting sites for a lot of our birds as well, and the tree to my left is a nesting site for the powerful owl, our largest owl, and also a protected species in Victoria.
The powerful owl is one of many threatened species on this site.
I'm now standing on the banks of Sheepwash Creek. I'm about 50 metres from the powerful owl nest. Recently the Ross Trust discovered where the powerful owl was nesting and have decided to move their pit away from that nest, all of 50 metres. Not a lot of protection for that owl. This tree that I'm standing next to is fairly indicative of a lot of the trees in this valley here. Massive old tree, obviously many years before European settlement, possibly the oldest tree on the whole peninsula, and this tree will be one of the first trees to go if this quarry is approved.
We've lost a lot of our old growth trees on the peninsula, and that's why this region here is so important. Check out this one over here. That's a habitat hotel. Lots of nesting hollows.
They've released some of the information from their groundwater study. And in that study they say that Sheepwash Creek is an ephemeral creek and it only flows after heavy rainfall. I've been visiting this site for 40 years and I've never seen it run dry.
This lake behind me will have to be drained by the Ross Trust every single day.
I'm standing atop the old Pioneer Quarry, and this is a really good site to give you an idea of the size of the new pit. So the depth of this quarry from the top of the hill to the lake is about 90 metres, and the lake is 35 metres deep. They then plan to empty this lake and go another 50 to 60 metres below the level at the bottom of the lake. So that means basically what we're looking at is the hole will double the height of the existing quarry. From here, they're then going to extend into all of that bushland that we've been looking at. So the new pit would be basically twice as deep and 4 times the size of this quarry. I'm now standing on the western edge of the old Pioneer Quarry pit, and you can see around me the damage that pine trees have caused. Quarries love to plant pine trees because it hides the damage that they're doing to the environment from a distance, but up close you can see what they've done in a little over a generation. These pines have now also spread into the Arthur Seat State Park, and large swathes of the Arthur Seat State Park look like this, purely because the Ross Trust over the last 22 years have done nothing to fix this problem.
You can see here quite clearly what sallow wattle and the pine trees have done to the state park.
This exposed hillside is part of the quarry proposal. It has amazing native grasses that grow up to ½ a metre thick, and it is an absolutely fantastic habitat and protection for small mammals.
These little plants here are called honeypots, and they might look fairly insignificant and very easy to walk past. But this actual honeypot is a plant that may well be up to 300 years old. The community here has been evolving over millions of years, and the plants in here are just incredible and too precious to lose. We're standing here on the northern slopes of Arthur Seat overlooking the old Pioneer Quarry. In this video you can see the large expanse of bush that is going to be impacted by this proposal. In 2018 the Ross Trust requested from the Planning Minister a pit size of 107 acres, which would require 93 acres of this bushland, most of this bushland that you can see, to be cleared. Now we appreciate that it's unlikely they'll get that whole pit size. The Ross Trust are now estimating that they'll get a pit size of approximately 60 acres, which is still an enormous pit, which would require the clearing of lots of native vegetation. To give you some idea of what that size, this paddock that we're looking at here is approximately 25 acres in size. So even a 60-acre pit would be almost 2.5 times the size of this property.